And I'm going to challenge people to think differently. It's just the same reason people don't talk about their age. And I loudly talk about my age. When I say something like I'm 54, which I am, I'm not looking for you don't look your age. What I am doing is saying that 54 is defined however we want it. So if someone were to say to me, you don't look 54, I would say, well, what's it supposed to look like? Why have we made up this decision that it's supposed to look or be a certain way? So, but we're not hiding from anyone either. Maybe someone thinks I don't look 54, whatever. But to me, this is 54 and I'm not hiding that I'm 54. This is what it is.
All right. Well, it's a real pleasure to have Natalie Jill on the show today. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I was just telling you earlier how I found you because someone from my audience said, you've got to go follow Natalie Jill, because I was sharing my whole osteoarthritis story and my hip surgeries. And people were saying, you guys are kind of similar. And we have this menopause background, this menopause podcast. And as I was following you, I'm like, oh my gosh, we do share a lot. And I was watching you through your back surgery, like literally just caught you then. And I just became addicted. I was like, oh, what's happening today? She may be in a lot of pain. Or what is she doing? What are her protocols? And I saw that you had a protocol PDF, which I also had created. And then I went and read that. I'm like, God, it's so similar. We kind of preach the same things. And I'm excited to hear more about what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. And also found one of your YouTube videos. I always flip flop between YouTube and your podcast on audio. So I saw that you had 14 surgeries and I was thinking,
oh yeah,
God, okay. I thought I had
not all at once. Over 54 years.
Yeah, but over the years. Yeah, you had a lot of experience with this, way more than me. And I do want to share the story because when I see you, you're athletic, you're fit, you're just doing all the right things, you're eating healthy. And then you go, well, why did this happen to her? And this is the same thing that happened to me. And even I was so depressed sometimes, like, this is not right. I'm trying so hard. So I really want to dig deep into your surgeries and what helps. I don't know if we should start with maybe what surgeries did you have and walk us through some of them.
Let me back it up a minute and just say what's different between me and everybody else is not a lot. What's different is that I talk about it and I share. And a lot of people, they go through things, they're figuring it out, they've got something happening, and they think, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to share it because it'll sound like drama, or it'll sound like, oh, here's another thing. Or the difference is that's my personality. Like, I learn by diving deep and sharing real time. And me sharing real time is not only healing for me, it helps me learn and it helps me educate others. So that's me. I am a reality TV show. And my husband jokes with me about it. Really? Another thing? My friend, I got it. And the difference is I just share, because I can't tell you how many friends I have that have had other surgeries or other things, and they just don't talk about it. They don't bring it up. So I just bring up what's in my head, what I'm learning about and what I'm walking through. And I do it real time. And that's what people see. So the surgeries, I agree. Not everyone's had all those surgeries, but let me just back up and I'll start with being a little kid.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Sorry. Another reason, as you're going, like, why you're sharing, I know as I've also gone through this journey, I see women, the same thing, are not sharing. And I think a part of it, and I contemplated this as well, is that, wow, it makes you feel old. It makes, and I'm a gerontologist, so I study aging and longevity, and I'm getting all the biohacks, and I'm like telling people how to live. It's embarrassing to say, wow, I haven't figured it out. And I think I know some people who've done this, even famous people, who just say they don't talk about it until maybe years later. And I thought, well, I wish you were talking about that before, because I certainly would appreciate it. So I think that's one of the things that are why people resist as well, to talk about these things.
I agree. And I'm going to challenge people to think differently. It's just the same reason people don't talk about their age. And I loudly talk about my age because when I say something like I'm 54, which I am, I'm not looking for you don't look your age or how I'm surprised. I'm not looking for that. What I am doing is saying that 54 is defined however we want it. So if someone were to say to me, you don't look 54, I would say, well, what's it supposed to look like? Why have we made up this decision that it's supposed to look or be a certain way?
Because people are ageist. That's
right. But we're not hiding from anyone either. We're like, maybe someone thinks I don't look 54, whatever, but to me, this is 54 and I'm not hiding that I'm 54. This is what it is. So I think we need to be redefining what certain things mean. And I do share a lot about what I've navigated in midlife, and I share, and there's a lot. There is a lot after 50, especially that we navigate. And I just happen to talk about it all. Not everyone does. Now, when I talk about it, I do it a little different than some people that talk about it all. I don't talk about it from a victim place. I don't say, woe is me, this sucks, what's wrong, like this is awful. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just sharing, oh, like kind of fun. Oh, another thing popped up. This is what I'm figuring out. This is what we're learning. So I just share it all. Now, is that right or wrong? I don't know. It's just me. That's just my personality and what I do. Now, I do have to sometimes slow myself down and go, okay, maybe I'm oversharing right now. Maybe people don't need to know all of this. And I definitely own that I have a unique obsessive brain. So I joke that I get a PhD in whatever I'm learning at the moment, because when I'm trying to figure something out, I spent 80 hours that week trying to figure it out. I just went to a doctor's appointment. I obsess and I learn every single thing I can about that. And then I'm talking about a portion of it. So I really do go deep on topics and really share, because that helps me learn too.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm a bit the same. I was searching for my prince surgeon or my princess surgeon as well when I was trying to figure
Yeah.
out who do I go with and why and all that stuff. So it'd be interesting to hear the process that you went through. But I think it's super helpful. I love what you're sharing, and I'm totally into it. I'm on board with you, support you 100%. And about I'm so glad you share your age. I'm the same. I'm 55. I really don't care. It's just a number.
Yeah.
And what drives me crazy is 65 is the new 45 or
Yeah.
45. It's like, just drives me. No, just be 65. Like, just show what it looks like and own it. And it's not about chasing youth, or we're all getting older, but it's nice to give people a menu of choice. And what I try to do is disrupt ageist stereotypes. That's one of my mission statements, is to disrupt that. And so we disrupt that by showing that there is different ways that we can age. It's not this stereotype, oh, you should look like that. And if anybody says, oh, you look young for your age, you just correct them and say, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's a little bit ageist. Why don't you just tell me I look good, period?
Yeah. When they say that to me, I just say, what's it supposed to look like?
Yeah, yeah. What's it
That's
supposed to look like?
because I think we have these weird beliefs about what it's supposed to look like, and we all can look differently. And I think everyone chooses different things. Some people want to fix everything, and that's fine. Some people want to embrace it all and not fix anything, and that's fine too. I think there's not a right or wrong way. I think it's just however you want to age, however you want it to be. But
So you've had all these surgeries, and you have actually a great podcast that people can watch or listen to all about it. So they want to go dive deep. I will have a link to that in the show notes. But maybe you can briefly tell us
yeah,
why you've had so many, and then I want to talk a
totally.
little bit more about the back surgery.
I will tell you, my very first surgery, I was 2.5 years old, and I had a tumor the size of a man's fist in my forehead. It was right at my eyebrow. In fact, I get comments a lot like, "Oh, that's you have bad Botox or your eyebrows." It has nothing to do with that. I actually currently right now have no Botox in my forehead, and that is because I had a man's fist sized tumor in the side of my right eyebrow. I actually have a scar there, and it definitely changed my nerve pattern. So if you're looking on video, you can see when I raise my eyebrows, they are uneven, they are different, and it was because of that years ago. That's the first thing. It was a benign tumor, but I had that out when I was little. But that was the very first surgery. But then I had a number of cosmetic things, so I don't hide that. Number one, when I was 15, I actually had rhinoplasty. I had that done. So that was like cosmetic. Now, I grew up in a family that really looked at beauty. Like that was a thing. My mom was very pretty. My dad was very much into what looks good. Like he would make comments about things that don't look good or do look good. And when I said I want a nose job, they were like, okay, it was like not a thing. So it's just how I grew up. So when people say that's vain or whatever, to me as a 15-year-old, I didn't know it was vain. I didn't know it was strange. I just said I wanted one and they said, okay. So I got one. So that's what happened.
I
So
went
people
to
can judge all they want, but that's what happened.
I went to Beverly Hills High School, and everyone got nose jobs. So
Yeah. All my friends did.
it wasn't an unusual thing to do at 15. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah. So I did that. And then at age 19, I wanted a boob job. I wanted a breast augmentation. And I was super self-conscious about being flat, which I am again now, by the way, because I've since explanted. But same thing. Like I wanted that done. My parents didn't stop me. I mean, they said, well, I mean, you might want to think about it. I actually asked my dad to co-sign a loan for me to get them, and he did. So I just grew up like not being talked out of these things. I just thought, okay, that's normal. Well, the first parts of my surgery story were that I literally had to replace those implants 5 times before ultimately explanting. And I really do warn anyone that wants breast implants, you got to really think that through because it is not a one time and done. And I do believe that we are all not candidates for that. Now, I happen to be someone who does have an autoimmune. I'll never know if it was caused from that or not. I assume probably was. I also think a certain type of person gets implants. People can challenge me all they want, but we honestly do have some self-esteem issues if we're getting it. Dismiss people that say that, but we have to look at, but why do we have that self-esteem issue? Where did that come from? And who's in our life also supporting that message? So I did that. The first set I got at age 19 ruptured when I was in my early 20s. And this was before they know what they know now. I had silicone gel at the time. It ruptured all over my body. They know now to remove the actual capsule and implants in, but they didn't then. So when they opened it up, the silicone spilled throughout my entire body. They remember they had to take a liposuction to get out all my actual real tissue that had the silicone in there. I'll never know if my 2 autoimmunes came from that. I'm assuming they probably did. But, still, I was like the dumb 20 something. I put them right back in. I just didn't understand. I didn't know what I didn't know. So that 5 surgeries with problems until ultimately a few years ago, I said, enough is enough. I'm explanting. And I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. I can't say that I don't have moments. I had them for 33 years. I can't say I don't have moments where I miss that I had implants, but my health is more important to me and I'm over having surgeries there. So I would say a big part of my surgery story was that cosmetic stuff. So I'm not hiding behind that. I shared also very publicly when I had my eyelids done, and I will keep doing things. I'm sure the list will keep growing. That's fine. That's a whole separate thing. But what we're talking about is more the injury stuff that goes along with it. And the cascade of things. And we have to look at why do we even get injured to begin with? And I think a certain type of personality is more driven to get injured. So I don't think it's a coincidence that yes, I had cosmetic surgery and yes, I was the person who got injured because really at the root of that is perfectionism. At the root of that is type A personality. At the root A of that is pushing our body to limits and things that maybe others wouldn't do. So it took me years to figure that out and understand that. But I don't think it's any surprise that I ultimately ended up needing a disc replacement in my lower back. It really tracks. I'll go back to thinking how I first ruptured my disc 8 years ago. I was on set. I was very much in fitness and I was doing a paid production. I was doing workouts for about 9 hours, really intense workouts. And my back was screaming at me. I already knew I had a disc bulge. I already knew from my MRI I had degeneration. I already knew I shouldn't be doing those exercises, but the perfectionist, the ego in me, the type A, all of that was like, I can do it, right? So I'm jumping and doing it and my disc ruptured, like full rupture. And if you understand a rupture, like the matter came out of my spine and it created my right leg to stop working. So I had something called foot drop and my right leg was literally not working. So I ended up in an emergency surgery to remove just the rupture, which is called laser endoscopic spine surgery. Very minimally invasive, but that doctor in San Diego removed that rupture and that healed. Now that created a little bit of a delay on the right side of my body from that rupture. And the story doesn't end there. So what should have happened is after that surgery, I said, I need to really look at my life. Like, why did I get injured? How do I prevent? But that's not how I'm wired. That wasn't my personality. So that created a cascade of other injuries, which because I had this delay on the right side of my body, now if I'm moving too fast or doing things or being in that type A personality, I'm more prone to injuries. And then years that followed that, I ruptured my right bicep. I broke my right foot. I broke my right toe. Like it was all right-sided stuff.
Yeah.
And all needed surgical repair. So it was kind of like this joke, like, what am I, surgery Barbie here? So that's where they started to really pile up. But it was in the midst of all that when I started to really look at, why am I getting injured? What is happening? And how do I look at just everything going on in my life? And that is partially what led to this whole explant too, because here I see a rupture in my breast implant and I'm like, okay, I need to work on undoing instead of doing like undoing. So in the middle of all that is when I decided to remove my implants.
Yeah.
And that brings me up to this final surgery, which I'm happy to share about too.
When did you do the explants?
So I did the explant 2 years ago now,
Okay.
2 years ago now. And then after the explant, this was 8 years post rupture for my lower back. So what was happening was I was starting to have a lot of pain in my body, a lot. Hips, knees, joints, lower back, everything's hurting. And I was starting to get really depressed about, okay, here I'm getting older and now I'm having all this pain, these injuries. And I was doing everything I knew to do to like kind of eliminate. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the explant. I really worked on an anti-inflammatory diet. I really got into a lot of biohacks and obviously my infrared and my sauna and my red lights. And I just started doing all the things, right? Still type A personality, trying to do all the things. But my back was really starting to be limiting. And the last thing I wanted was another surgery. It was like a joke now. I'm like, okay, I've had all these surgeries, the bicep, like all these things, then the explant, and I've shared it all publicly. And what am I going to have another surgery? Like it was just this, I can't even believe I'm here. But what happened was,
Sorry, do you ever think, I wonder myself, that when you started to have all these injuries one after the other, I mean, it could have been the silicone, it could have been many other things. But one question I always ask myself, is it the hormones? Is it when we're losing our hormones? Because that's sort of one of the hallmarks of the symptoms or the joint pain and injuries and frequent injuries.
yeah.
And have you ever looked into that or thought about?
I don't believe that I believe that hormones are important. I just don't believe it's everything. I think if I were to look at what I know now, and I have certainly not mastered this, Zora, like, so I'm not claiming to be an expert here, but this is my next chapter of learning. Number one is our nervous system. And our nervous system regulation is the most important thing. And I am not an expert anywhere near close to that at all. But I know at the root of everything is that. And then that, second to that, I'll say is our gut and how things are processed. So when you look at hormones and things like that, if you don't have an optimal nervous system or gut, we got a problem. And now we add hormones into the mix and we create a whole nother cascade of problems. So just to give you an example, you don't have an optimized gut, you don't have an optimized nervous system, and you don't have good DNA for clearance pathways for things like estrogen. You add estrogen on board and your body doesn't know how to clear it or detox. We got a whole other set of problems. So yes, everyone's screaming on social media, we need estrogen, we need hormone replacement to prevent bone loss, but we're not talking about this other problem. If you don't clear it well, we're going to create a whole other series of problems. So
you have a great episode on that. I just shared it in my story today because I listened to it and I was just so on board with you. Absolutely. No one really talks about that detox piece.
no, at all.
But my question was more like, I wonder if the loss of our hormones, not that we've replaced them or not. I mean, I don't know when you started, but
Yeah.
I was always wondering gosh, I wonder if it's because I didn't have hormones or I didn't have hormone therapy. Maybe I was already losing my estrogen.
Maybe.
And maybe that contributed.
Yeah.
Not it's everything, but
And I think we're all so unique, and I think it's very possible. I don't think for me that was my situation. I honestly think mine is the type A nervous system, like how I'm wired and the cortisol and all of that, and adding to it. Because if you think about it, that's what drove me to get the implants. That's what then drove me to have the problems there. The rupture in my back was because of that. And then the rupture in my back created this right-sided stuff. And then like, why am I doing things that put me at risk for tearing my bicep, for breaking? Like I did that to myself.
Did
so
you
those
interview-
things happen.
did you interview, sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm so sorry. I forget. Did you interview Dr. Nawaz Habib?
I did not.
Because what you're saying is exactly what he's saying. And we just released an episode with him just like a week ago. So check him out. I'll send a link to him.
Yeah.
Because what you're speaking is very much what he says.
Okay.
And it's the gut and the brain and the nervous system. And it's all,
Yeah.
it really has a lot to do with it's all about nervous system regulation. And he's very much into HRV and
Yes.
calming the nervous system. And you're just preaching.
And I have not done that yet. Like my HRV sucks. So it's funny because I'm aware of this. I have not fixed it yet. I'm working on it, but I think it's a big process. And I think it's a very important process that too many of us skip. I really do.
Yeah.
So though ultimately what led me to the final surgery, and I'm like declaring no more surgeries now because I really, I really need to settle down, was the back thing was really an underlying thing now. And because what happened was when I did the laser endoscopic, it removed the rupture, but I didn't do anything to fix the problem now that I had no disc. So the options were a fusion, which I didn't want, or a disc replacement at the time, which was not perfected. It's like had an 80% success rate, which is very not good at all. So I chose not to do anything other than just remove the rupture. And I thought, I've got this. I know how to develop my body. I know how to eat an anti-inflammatory. I'll do all the things. Well, that worked for probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay,
But
that's something.
after that, what happened was my spine started to compress and it started to auto fuse together. And it's kind of like driving a car with three shocks instead of one. Like now it's putting too much pressure everywhere else. And that's why my hips, my knees, and the rest of my back was feeling it. So I was creating a bigger problem. So that's when I ultimately decided I was actually thinking I have to do something about this. And I heard a podcast episode, somebody else who had a similar back situation who was talking about the specialized disc replacement, and the surgeon he was interviewing happened to be a surgeon that was mentioned to me before by my previous surgeon. So it all kind of clicked and it happened pretty fast, but I ended up doing a disc replacement with him, which was a gnarly recovery, I'm not going to lie, but I'm so glad that I did that.
Yeah. And I think if I heard correctly, you did, you felt that you waited a little too long. Like
Yes,
you
I did.
could have done a little earlier, but
Yes.
timing is everything. Actually, it's really amazing how you can listen to a podcast and then
Yeah.
get a name, and then that led you to one thing. You already heard that name. It was repeated again, and then you just
Yeah.
found your perfect surgeon. And that's what the
Yeah.
beauty of talking about this stuff is all about, right? If he didn't talk about it, you wouldn't have heard it. And I bet there are people who've
No.
listened to you and then have had their surgeries or their treatments, whatever
Totally.
it is.
I kind of joke with myself, like I've had all these surgeries, but believe me, every surgery you have is very hard on your body. There's a cascade of things that happen because you have surgery. You're really messing up your gut, you're messing up your immune system. You're definitely not helping your nervous system. So there's no surgery is without their massive consequences. So I just want to be really clear there. Like I'm still undoing things from all of that and I'll continue to, and new things pop up. And I will say it's because of that. But ultimately, I'm not going to blame the surgeries. I'll blame myself for the reasons that I said.
You know, what I think is, of course, we all try to avoid surgery. And I think you very much like me is that it's the last resort. Like maybe you could do it, but obviously if there's an 80% chance or for me, it's other reasons, I think anyone who's living with chronic pain doesn't want the surgery. I truly
For sure.
believe that they are doing everything they possibly
Oh,
can
yeah.
before. I mean, maybe there's this percentage of people who just say, whatever, I'd listen to the doctor and do it. But I do think that it's there. But one thing that really surprised me was that my doctor, I did my surgeries in Spain, and my doctor didn't tell me any perioperative care, nothing. I had, luckily, like you, all of the amazing guests I've interviewed who are regenerative medicine specialists who knew all these things. So I tapped into that. And
Yeah.
I had a whole protocol before, during, and after that was just brilliant because what their game was like, let's protect your brain, let's protect your gut, let's try to do everything we can. You got to do this, you got to take it, but let's try to minimize it or at least and then detox it all out after
Yeah.
you get your surgery because the benefits of getting surgery start to outweigh the risks. And that's
For
why in
sure.
the
And
end,
they
ultimately
absolutely
you have to
can.
do it.
Yeah, and we also have to be careful. I've learned so much about this too, about trying to control all the detox and control all the things too. I've recently started diving down the whole topic of mast cell activation problems and histamine, and all of that comes from trying to control as well. So it really all does go back to that whole nervous system regulation. And like even trying to control how our body's detoxing and doing stacking biohacks, we could create a huge problem in our body with that too, because your body is meant to heal itself, right? So you almost have to let your body do its thing. And when you try to control too many things, we can create other problems.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's you can overdo a good thing, and that's what
Yeah.
we're all trying to learn. So then, tell us a little bit about what you've learned. If somebody's getting a surgery very soon and needs help to prepare for it.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that I know you've evolved from the first surgeries
Sure.
to the latest one? You keep adding to your list. So, what are some of the tips that you have for someone who's getting surgery? How can they best prepare for that?
Yeah. Okay. So number one, and this is gonna be obviously a little bit controversial, but I am not a fan of all the medications that the doctors give you before. A lot of surgeons will give you all this preventative, like antibiotic and steroids and whatever else. I don't take any of it. So I literally don't. So don't listen to me. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you, me personally. I take what I say to my surgeon every time, as I say, I promise to take this antibiotic if I have an infection or I have a problem, but I'm not taking it unless that happens. And
What
I've
about the
yet
anticoagulant? Like I had to inject myself with for weeks with a medication was anticoagulant so I don't get a blood clot.
So I was not given that. But if you are given stuff like that, you just have to really question it. You have to be your own health advocate and say, what is this actually for? What does this do? What is this not? And so you really need to. So like when I had my eyes done, I just had my eyelids done. That surgeon gave me like 7 prescriptions. And I looked at them. I'm like, what are, I took none of them, none. And
What
I'm
were they
fine.
trying to give you?
Because I understand why, like they're giving you antibiotics for prevention, they're steroid for this. I was like, all these things, but what for? What are these for? And I ask and I understand, and you ultimately have to decide. And I'm not, again, not medical advice here, but for me, I'm super sensitive to things. So I'm just really aware. So you have to, so I would say number one, be your own researcher and advocate and really understand why you're being prescribed things and ask the questions and then make good decisions with your doctor on why something is for you or why is it just preventative. So that's number one.
Also run by another doctor as well. Like my doctor
Absolutely.
didn't give me any pre stuff. So maybe in Spain they do it differently. That
Yeah,
is a good
but be your own.
advice.
And then two, you have to really treat surgery like you would be treating anything you're getting ready for, like an athletic event or a competition or whatever. Like you have to get your body ready for it. So I eat, and I'm sure you do, primarily a natural, unprocessed, real food diet. But leading up to surgery, I am really making sure my body is in the best possible state it can be, hydrated, eating well, good sleep, movement, eliminating things that you don't need, like really getting yourself mentally and you're physically ready to go in for that. So those are like, and this is all stuff that doesn't cost anything to do that. And this is not something you're adding. It's just being really aware and being invested and going, am I getting myself game day ready for this? So can you start weaning off like caffeine? Can you start getting off what else is in your body right now that you just don't need that you can get out of it before you're having a surgery? So that's two.
One thing I have to, I'm sorry to interrupt. One thing, this is like such a fun conversation
No.
for me. I remember when I was younger, I'd see two old people
Yeah.
talking about their knees, and I'm like, how boring. And here I am, like, now so
We all do it
excited
in
to
our
talk
50s.
about hips
Yeah.
and backs and all that. But one thing I do meet a lot of people who are going to get a surgery, they may go, well, I'm in so much pain. I don't want to exercise. I'll exercise when I'm done.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
they don't follow their nutrition because they are feeling so bad. And I went
Yeah.
through it. You went through it. You really have to push yourself. I don't say go to the point of pain. As limited in terms of range of motion I had with my
Yeah.
hips, like I could barely do it. I still did a tiny bit, as little as I
Totally.
could, to try to at least keep the muscle because I knew that having muscle
Totally.
would help with the recovery. But I don't know, what would you say to somebody who's really just says, oh, I'll do
Yeah.
this later? Why should they?
First of all, I'm going to tell you that any surgeon that's seen my before MRI or CAT scan is like, how are you even walking? Like literally, I had if you saw, and I'll send you a picture if you want to put it in here, but what my back looked like before, like I don't believe anyone else, their MRI looks like this. This is gnarly what mine was happening.
Oh, well, send
And
me yeah, I'll get a picture.
I was
Send me a
in
picture.
pain
I'll post it in
every
the little YouTube
freaking
video.
day. So much pain. But there's something called the pain cycle and we have to break it. And let me tell you right now, if you're in pain and you're not doing these things, then you're not doing everything. And I'm gonna tell you right now what they are. Number one, you absolutely, no excuses, have to eat anti-inflammatory. You have to. Grains, dairy, sugar need to come out of your diet stat. I mean it. Like
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying forever. Look, I love dairy, but when you're in pain, you get those things out now, like immediately.
Did
They
you
are not
ever-
helping you.
Did you ever, one thing I tried, and it was such torture, but a friend of mine is a nutritionist. She said, Zora, do the lectin-free diet. And I was like, I don't eat that many lectins. And she says, you do. And I do eggplant and red peppers and cucumbers.
I'm going to go another level. That I'm on a whole histamine kick right now. So it's
Yeah.
even another level than lectin, but that's a whole other story. But when we're talking pain, like number one, first of all, when you are telling me you're in chronic pain, anyone, if you are eating dairy, grains, and sugar right now, you are not doing everything, period. Hard stop, take them out and then talk to me. Okay. So that's number one. Hydrate is number two. Are you actually hydrating? And I don't just mean drinking water. Are you getting sodium too? Like you need salt. Your body needs and how much water? Are you getting minerals? Like what is happening there? But hydrate. So those are for just nutrition basics. You have to be doing those things. And that will right there, those things alone make a big difference on pain when you're doing them. But if you're telling me you're in chronic pain and you're still eating those things, you have not done everything. So that's okay. So that's number one. Number two, there's a pain cycle. So if a body in motion is going to stay in motion. So when I would get up in the morning before my surgery, before my disc replacement, I was scared to get out of bed. This is the conversation in my head. I'd be like, as soon as I step out of bed, I'm going to feel my hips. I'm going to feel like, it was like a whole, oh gosh. So what I wanted to do was just stay in bed, and that was not going to be an option. But getting myself up and going through my exercises and making sure I walked every day and making sure I went and did them is the thing that would get me out of pain and get me moving. So you have to break the pain cycle, and you have to find a way to move something. And if you're like, literally my legs won't move, then you got to move your arms. Like you have to get movement in to get your body out of pain. And there's a whole cycle here, because if you don't move and now you're in more pain, now you don't want to eat good, healthy foods, and you're eating more junk. And then you stay in this pain loop.
Yeah.
So it's the eating anti-inflammatory and getting into movement that is going to shift things. So pre-surgery, those things have to be on board too, because you want lower inflammation. So when you go into surgery, you're not coming in there with this crazy high level of inflammation. So I'm going to say those are like the number one first things. Then there's all the add-on things I'm happy to talk about, but those are add-on things, but these are the priority things.
What about, I heard you did a great episode with talking about pain and pain pathways. Can't remember her name, Annie, or she was great. She was great. And I should have that in the show notes as well. And this reminded me of a rabbit hole I went down as well when I was living with chronic pain. And I followed so many books, and I know that you know about the Sarno, and that's a trigger and all that. There are pain pathways that we have. And actually I found an app that was pretty cool called Curable. And I totally no association with them, but it taught about, it gives you education. It tells you how your brain is programmed for certain things. And when you're living with chronic pain and you wake up in the morning, like I'm like you, I'm like a hawk looking for that pain. Is it going to be there? It's the first thing you think about when you wake up, and the last thing when you go to bed. And it really trained me. Educated me, and it trained me to how to just not focus so much on the pain. And it didn't take away the pain, but it certainly alleviated it, because when you are searching for it and focusing on it, it's stronger. And
yes,
I learned a lot about alleviating.
So pain is an addiction, which is why people that have chronic pain, they pretty much, you'll see them repeating the pattern. They might get something fixed and they have chronic pain somewhere else. So chronic pain is a distraction from being with yourself. I'm just going to say it what it is. And as someone who had chronic pain, it's an addiction in itself. And I watched this happen real time to me. This is like a really cool lesson that happened to me. So after my disc replacement surgery, they had to pry open my disc. They added they added 3/4 of an inch disc to my spine. So I'm actually 3/4 of an inch taller now.
Yay.
But because of that stretch, my nerves were like confused. So I had nerve pain before, but this was like another level of nerve pain. This was the most pain I've ever experienced in my life. It was awful for several weeks. I shared publicly when it was happening.
I remember.
This was the big lesson.
Horrible. Yeah.
So I was on one medication post-surgery that my surgeon insisted on. And what he insisted on, and this is very common with a disc replacement, is they want you to take Celebrex specifically for a couple weeks. The reason they want you to take Celebrex at a high dose is because it inhibits bone fusion and bone growth. And they don't want the disc to fuse into a hard space. So they want the parts of the disc to be in your bone, but they don't want the whole disc itself to fuse. So it's a very strategic reason they want you taking that. And it's funny, when I shared that, people were like, your surgeon doesn't know what he's doing. So, no, he knows very much what he's doing. He's a neurosurgeon. This is what they do. But what happened was I was so fixated on the pain that I could not break my depression. And I was questioning my whole life. Why did I do this surgery? Like, what is my life over? Like, literally so depressed. And I happened to reach out to my friend Cash, who does DNA. He's like very knowledgeable with DNA. And in desperation, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm stuck in a depression and I can't get out of this pain loop. And I know I have a real reason for pain, and he went through my DNA with me and left me this message that I swear changed my life. And he explained to me what I explained to you earlier, that I have the DNA and the type of genetic makeup that goes into overdrive on certain things, which is why I get injured to begin with. He's like, and you get stuck in loops and you're focused on the pain right now. And I said, why am I so stuck on it right now though? And he's like, well, it's a serotonin and dopamine thing. And that's what drove him to ask about what I was taking. And I learned that in Celebrex, with Celebrex, 1% of people can't take it. And I happen to be one of those 1% because it completely depletes your serotonin and dopamine. So
Oh,
what had happened was I'm taking this medication that is adding fuel to the fire. And now I'm trying to get out of that. I'm focused, so hyper focused on the pain that I can't get past it. That's making me depressed. I threw out the Celebrex that night. The next day, and I mean the next day, the nerve pain was still there, but it was not all consuming like that. And I wasn't focused on it.
so then you have a higher risk of having the fusion, and you just said, I'm going to take that risk.
I absolutely said I was going to take that risk, but I was already a few weeks in, but I threw it and I told my surgeon and he agreed, throw it away. Like that, if you're
Okay.
having that, it's a very rare side effect, but the lesson wasn't in the Celebrex or that I happen to be that person. The lesson for me was around pain. Whoa, how can in a 24-hour period, nothing's changed in my body. That nerve pain's still there, but I'm no longer depressed and focused on it. Like, what? How did that happen so quick? Which made me realize that truth behind pain being an addiction.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it's a drug. I mean, you were taking a drug, and it's incredible what drugs can do, and good and not so good.
But
And
if just realizing that and throwing that away could change my perception about that,
incredible.
where else is our mind connected to pain? And so me who hated that, that Dr. Sarno book for years and thought it was a trigger, I became open-minded to it. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, now I get it. He's not saying that the injury is not real, that the pain's not real. That's not what he's saying.
Yeah.
What he's saying is we have a heavy brain connection to where we're feeling pain.
Yeah. It's an interesting because one surgeon that I saw before I even was considering surgery was she said, I don't know why. I look at your MRI and your osteoarthritis isn't that bad. I had other people who have much worse than you
Mm.
and they feel no pain. So I said, well, then why do I feel pain? And she said, I don't know. And that's when I went down the whole rabbit hole
Hmm.
of pain reprocessing
Yep.
theories. And it's true. I mean, there are people, there was I think it was Sarno or somebody, one of the books I was reading said that there's an interesting case where a construction worker had a big nail go right into
Mm.
his boot and he was screaming in pain. And then when they took him to the hospital, it went right in between his toes. So he
Mm.
hadn't had an
Wow.
injury, but the thought of a nail going through his
Yep.
boot literally triggered so much pain in his body. I mean, the guy was
Yep.
reeling. It wasn't like he was faking it.
No, well, think about it. If everyone were to like close their eyes right now and take a bite of a big, juicy lemon, what happens to your body? What happens to your mouth and
Yeah.
to your saliva?
Yeah,
You have an actual physical reaction, right?
yeah.
Okay, so that's proof that what we're focused on and what we believe is true. So I am definitely not saying injuries and pain are not real. Like they are very real.
Yeah, they are.
However,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But
we
there's
have to rewire.
yeah, there's definitely a huge brain connection. And then I had a friend of mine who told me to read this book. She had fibromyalgia for 20 years, couldn't get out of a bed. And then she kept reading more and more and learning about pain and processing therapy. She had a lot of childhood trauma that went through this. She completely rewired her system and now she's running marathons today. I mean, it blew my mind.
Wild.
Yeah. And so it can happen. I mean, I clearly have an injury that was seen on an MRI and she
So
kept
in
going
mine too.
to the
Yeah.
back doctor and they were like, we don't see anything with you.
Yeah.
Yet she was feeling all throughout her body, couldn't get out of bed. So yeah, they're also connected. And the pain. So one couple things that you said absolutely before you go into surgery, clean up your diet and get the hydration in, get some electrolytes,
And get the movement in and the
get the
sleep
movement in
and the
and the
sleep.
sleep. Yes.
Yep. And then also you really look at your schedule. Like the one thing I definitely did wrong is because I'm a type A driver, like I booked speaking engagements 2 weeks after my surgery. Like, don't do that. So in hindsight, you need a month of downtime, taking care of yourself, slow, like all of that. That was not smart either. So I would say that when you look at things like all the things that I love, like red light and infrared sauna and hydrogen breathing, there's so many things that I love, all the like biohacks and the age optimizing things I love. Those are nice add-ons, but strategically, I think you can overdo those too.
So
Um,
which ones worked for you in terms of alleviating some pain for a
yes.
little while? And which ones did you use after post surgery that helped
Yep.
as well?
Yeah. So pre-surgery, red light and infrared sauna, definitely I used. I don't know that it ever fully alleviated. I think it was like a more, but after in recovery, those are huge. I also believe in hyperbaric oxygen chamber for post recovery. I think that's a huge beneficial thing. I'm also a huge fan of hydrogen breathing now. I did not have that on board before, but I think hydrogen breathing is one of the, I mean, it's the smallest molecule that there is. It can get into exactly where you need in your body. It's got huge healing abilities with very little downside. I mean, there's no downside to that. Where you look at like an infrared sauna, which I love, love, love my sauna. It is my absolute favorite thing, but you can overdo that too. If you don't have healthy mitochondria, if you can create problems overdoing anything. If I were to pick one or two modalities, I guess it would be hyperbaric and probably hydrogen breathing with what I know now. They're separate things. I think I'm a huge fan of minerals, obviously, especially topical minerals, ingesting minerals, like really getting those on board. Peptides can go either way. I think their BPC 157 can be great if you use it specifically for a short time based on what you're trying to do. I think that's a great peptide to have on board. I think those are like pretty much
What
my
about,
main
did you
things.
do the TB 500 or
I
TB?
did not do that one. I did not. I've heard people, a lot of people pairing that with BPC 157. I don't know enough about that. The reason I say I definitely believe that peptides have their place. I think they're getting overused right now and they need to be treated just like you would any serious medication or this is, and just to give you an example, I know with BPC 157, it repairs things. It also grows things.
Mhm.
So like you're injecting that and you've got an underlying problem, you're going to have a bigger problem. So you got to be really strategic with things. Like just stacking peptides just because somebody trendy is doing it. I think we
Mhm.
got to be careful. Do I think there's a place? Absolutely. But you have to really understand that peptides are the fine tuning.
Yeah, peptides. I love talking about them and interviewing people about them. And when I was doing my surgery, I don't know if you know Dr. Elizabeth Yorth from Boulder
Mm-mm.
Longevity, but great regenerative medicine doctor, and her clinic and her team there suggested I take it along with
Yeah.
many, many other things. But some things I couldn't even get a hold of in Spain, but the TB 500, and they gave me an exact
Hmm.
dosage, how long
Yes,
to
that's
take
great.
it, where to get it from. And it was so specific. So whenever I
Yeah,
talked about it, I was like, you don't, just because I took this doesn't mean you
totally.
do it. I went through a doctor. I mean, I got the guidance.
Absolutely.
And there's this time to start and a time to end. And, but they can do pretty well. I had two surgeries. I
Yeah.
had the one hip done, and then I only did the BBC 157. And then when I did the second hip 3 months later, I added in the TB 500. And actually, I noticed a
Okay.
faster recovery
Yeah.
when I did it the second time.
Yeah, I think they're great. I just think they need to be done under, don't just order them on some random site or because somebody online told you to do it. Like work with your doctor to make sure it's strategic for you. And I'm not against them. I think what I've really learned, and I use so many things and I have so many things, and I like my house is literally like a biohacking center, but I'm really realizing that less is more sometimes. It's like literally like just getting outside, circadian rhythm, eating well. Like we have to go back to some basics. I think we're getting a little too hard on the controlling and we need to get back to basics.
Yeah, oh, that's what I think. The foundation, whenever I talk about biohacking, I always talk about this pyramid. And the biohacking pyramid for me, the foundation is all the stuff that you already talked about, and the diet and the exercise and the sleep and the stress management, community, purpose in life. This is so important. I mean, we talked about this ad nauseum in gerontology. That's what in gerontology, when I studies, we didn't talk about the middle tier and the top tier, which is the supplements and the red light therapy and the ice bathing. And then the top tier, which is you probably need a medical doctor for a
Sure.
peptide or hormone therapy or whatever it is. And everyone wants the middle and the top tier. And I'm like, it's
Yeah,
from my experience and my community and working with so many people, I thought, well, I see that if you get the foundation right, you may not need the middle and the top
that's
tier.
right.
And if you don't do the foundation, the middle and the top tier, they may not work or they don't work as well. So it's worth getting that foundation right and then add on. Or sometimes we do things in conjunction, but we can get so lost with the cool gadgets and the supplements, and it's fun. And I love experimenting. That's why I'm similar to you. I've got a crazy biohacking center in my house, and it's just trying so many things because it's
Mhm.
fun, but you don't want to lose sight for all the basics, which for
You'll
me
also,
are there,
let
but
me just throw this out because this is another, I mean, this is a whole different topic here, but when you start trying to do all these things to detox and all these things to like biohack, your body gets backlogged. It cannot, it go and you create more stress on your body. So just let me just give you an example. Let's say you're a slow metabolizer of things. Like your body is slow to eliminate hormones. It's slow to, your liver's slower. Like that genetically, there's a lot of people that have that. I mean, I would argue that more than half people are slower on that stuff. Maybe you
It's
have slow
worse.
mitochondria, you're slower. Like all this is slower. And now you start throwing all these modalities at you to help speed up mitochondria and detox. Like you're just doing all of it. And I was guilty of it, all of it. Well, it's trying to take the trash out when the main trash can and dumpster is already full. Like you can't, there is no place for it to all go. So
Yeah.
what you do is you create a whole storm in your body. And this is where we get, and that's like literally where the whole mast cell problem comes into. This is where problematic mitochondria come in. This is where we start having intolerances to things all of a sudden. There's so much that comes when we try to hack our way out of the basics.
Yeah.
So when I say just get outside, get good sleep, circadian rhythm, eat healthy, get water, like that's the 90%. You got to do that first.
What about the sleep piece when people live with
Yeah.
chronic pain? It's hard to sleep, right? Because every
Yeah,
time you
it can
turn
be.
or so do you have any tips on how
Yeah,
to
you do
get better
whatever
sleep?
you can to get some sleep in. So I'm not against melatonin if we need it, like especially at low levels. I'm not against taking deep sleep formulas for magnesium. I'm not against doing, I mean, I'm not going to say go take Benadryl. That's not the best way to get your deep sleep in, but you've got to find your formula to get yourself to sleep and to get that actual deep sleep in. And you'd be surprised at how many little tweaks will help your deep sleep. So for example, just shutting off that blue light after 5 or when the sun's setting or whatever, like you're going to improve your deep sleep. Having your room set at 68 degrees, having a weighted blanket, having it dark in there, no Wi-Fi, electronics in that room. All of that's going to help impact you. So are you doing all that first? Two, are you eat when is your last meal? Are you eating too close to bedtime? That's going to affect your digestion, is going to affect what's in that last meal. Sugar is going to affect your cortisol and your insulin, and that's going to wake you up. So all the things, like what can you do? And then all the things to help you like ease into. So like my nighttime routine is pretty funny right now. Like first of all, most time right now I'm taking a little break from sauna, but most nights I do sauna. I do my hydrogen breathing and I do castor oil pack. It's just like my little routine. And I'm definitely watching the light and stuff. And then I sleep well. So it's really starting to be a scientist on how am I going to actually sleep better? What do I need to sleep better? And how am I going to get that? And then tracking it. So even if for a little while you're using a Whoop or a ring just to see how your deep sleep's doing, it's not the length, it's the quality of it.
Yeah. And I always take my devices with a grain of salt because I'll wake up in the morning and I felt great. I slept
Yeah.
great. And then I get a bad score and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to believe you today.
Yeah,
But
that's
some
true
people
too.
take it a little too
Same
seriously.
with labs. I'll say that about labs too. So that's like with
Yeah.
anything. You get a report card. You're like, I felt great. And then my report card says something different.
Yeah. And again, I always recommend people look at trends over time. Don't wake up and then a number ruins your day. It's something to maybe consider if over and over
Yeah.
again you keep getting these bad scores or something, but generally try not to take it too seriously. This is not a super accurate technology, but I do like to look at trends. Okay, you've got yeah, like a few minutes left and then I have to let you go, but I just love this conversation about surgeries and you've had so many in your lifetime and you've learned probably so much from each one. So, what would you say is the biggest mistake people are making during recovery that slows their healing?
The biggest mistake is repeating habits that got you to the problem to begin with. So if you needed a surgery for something, you got injured, are you going to repeat those habits and then just create another problem? So for example, I have a new disc in my back. That's awesome. So I don't have any pain right now. Like that's great. However, I got to be really aware. What am I doing? I'm not going to treat my workouts now like I never had a problem. I'm going to treat them like, okay, how do I not get that problem again? Anytime you're having a surgery, you got to really think that through. So like, for example, I had that explant and I had a lot of lessons. I had 5 sets of implants over all those years, went through the explant. I really think about what's getting put in my body right now. What am I actually putting in my body? And believe me, getting the disc replacement was even in itself stressing me out because I'm like, well, what's in the disc? And like, but really thinking through, okay, if I'm put like, and then also what else do I need to remove? Your body doesn't want to work that hard. So fine, I'm getting a disc replacement, but did I need the amalgam fillings that were in my teeth? No. So those got to go. What else needs to go? Like being really aware of toxic load. I'm not saying I'm completely non-toxic. Believe me, I color my hair. There's plenty of things that I do, but just really aware of what is that load and what created the problem that I needed the surgery in to begin with and can I be smarter now?
That's a good advice. One question about the implant. It's an
Mhm.
implant, right? I mean, it's
A disc
the
replacement,
disc
yes.
replacement. So how long is that supposed to last?
It's supposed to last forever. He's been doing them. He has over 20-year studies right now. I can't guarantee like they'll be here forever. But what I do know is when you do a fusion, you're not actually fixing a problem. You're taking yourself out of your pain, but you're creating another problem. With a disc replacement, you're actually replacing what was busted, what was missing, what's gone, just like a hip replacement. So they don't fuse hips together, they put a hip replacement in. So just like a hip replacement, a disc replacement would be similar. It's made from titanium. Also, there is some medical grade plastic in there, but it is the most tested piece for replacements in our bodies. So that's what's in there. So could something go wrong? Of course, I choose to hope that it and believe and focus that it won't. But if something did go wrong with it, you could then go to a fusion, which a fusion is not reversible. So starting there, you can't reverse that.
You have a great episode I think people should listen to if they do have back issues and they're considering a surgery, because you did clearly define the differences, and I think it's information people need to hear about. So I will have that one in the show notes too. But
Thank you.
I'm going to have to let you go. I have so many questions still, but before I do, you mentioned to me that you have an interesting program called Total Body Drive.
Yeah,
And
Total Body Thrive.
you are, yeah, the fitness queen. I mean, that's your name, Natalie Jill Fit, all right. Yeah, Natalie Jill
Fit.
Fit. And that's been your jam for decades now. So you've been helping women get in better shape and be healthier. So tell us a little bit about that program.
So Total Body Thrive has completely evolved. Originally, when I made it, it was literally just about fat loss. Let's just help you. And I used to teach state plate weight, like where's our mind at? What do we need to eat? And what do we need to do? That has evolved based on my numerous stories and experiences as you're hearing. So really Total Body Thrive is for if any of what I'm saying is resonating and you want help on a deeper level, what we do is I teach you how to simplify becoming a detective. Like I take you through the process. If you're not feeling good in your body and you're holding on to weight, you're thinking it's hormonal, like all these things, what I do is I take you through a process where we're basically getting you back to reset. So it is going through the process, like the basic stuff first. And then we dive into the buckets around cortisol, around blood sugar, around hormones, around gut health, around DNA, I touch on all of it, thyroid. However, what I'm doing is helping women undo all of this crazy amount of confusion we've had throw it at us and say, let's start here. Like, let's reset. Let's go back to some basic things. Let's start here. And then let's go down the path. So that's what I have. I do it live once a year, but right now you can get it just by going to totalbodythrive.com. And what I was sharing, if you just go to the website, you'll see one price. But I had told Zora before we started that for her listeners only, I did do a $400 off discount, and you can just use coupon ZORA, ZORA, and you'll see that reflected in there, and you can start at any time.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. And one last thing I do want to put in the show notes is that you do have a great PDF on the hacks or the things to
I
help
do.
somebody get through a surgery and your recommended things that you've done. So if you can send that link to
Yep.
me,
And that's getrapidrecovery.com.
oh, you have that. Okay. Get Rapid Recovery.
Getrapidrecovery.com, and you'll find that.
Perfect. Okay. It'll be so useful. It'll so useful. And I'm sorry that you had all these surgeries, and I'm sorry
No,
you
I
had
don't.
back
I'm
issues.
not sorry. It makes up my story. I know it makes me sound a little crazy, but it honestly, I'm grateful for what I've learned from it. And I hope I get to help other women with what I've learned.
You absolutely did. And so thank you so much for your time. And thank you everyone who's reached to the end of the episode, because you obviously were interested in this as much as I am. And if you have any questions, just reach out. And thank you so much, Natalie. And I hope to see you again.
Thanks, Laura.